Hello class, today we're going to learn about weathering and erosion, and there's actually a difference between the two. So here we go. Make sure you're taking some notes on this, write it down on paper, it'll help you out. So weathering, you're familiar with all of these, I'm sure you've seen them before in a variety of fashions, but essentially weathering is change. So some way that rocks are changed from their original form. And this could mean that they're broken, that they're in smaller pieces, or somehow altered. But there is no movement involved in this. The big word here that you need to circle and highlight is the word changes here. So there's a change to the rocks during the process of weathering. And weathering has to occur before erosion can happen. So here's some examples of weathering that you're familiar with. The features in caves forming and rocks being broken apart by ice getting in there and breaking them apart. Like if you take a glass and you fill it with water and you put it in the freezer and it breaks the glass when it expands. Same thing happens to rocks. So again, I'm going to move through this kind of quick. If you need to pause the video so you can write this down, but I'm moving on. Okay, so two types of weathering. The first is mechanical weathering. When you think of the word mechanical, you think of machines. So this is some sort of physical process that's going to break the rocks into different sizes. Lots of examples of this. Again, some you're familiar with and some you might not be. The first one is abrasion. So like if you think about wind picking up sand and that sand moving over rocks and scraping the rocks, that's one way that that can happen. Also water can do abrasion in the same sort of fashion. Ice wedging, I talked about this. This is like taking a container, like a glass container, putting water in it, putting it in your freezer, and you open up the freezer later and the glass container is broken because the ice expanded. It'll get in gaps in rocks. It'll then freeze and expand and break those rocks apart. So examples of weathering. Plate movement, again, as plates move around and grind into each other, this can break up rocks into smaller pieces. And the last one is caused by plants and animals, so burrowing animals, think of a mole digging in the ground, or roots of plants, and they wedge in between rocks and break them apart. These are all examples of mechanical weathering. Again, if you need to pause the video so you can write all this down, please do that. The other type is chemical weathering, so this is a chemical process that alters the rock. Great way to think of this is you leave your bike outside, it gets wet, and then it rusts, right? So rust is one way that that rocks can be altered and broken into smaller pieces. Also acid rain can do that and chemically alter rocks. So these are the two types of weathering: mechanical, which is a physical process, and chemical, which is an alteration. So the other type of process we're going to talk about next, which is erosion. This doesn't involve breaking down. This happens after weathering. So weathering happens first, breaks rocks down in small pieces, and erosion is the transport of those rocks. So this can happen by water. So we're talking about rivers, creeks, streams, the ocean, lakes, etc. Can move then those particles of rock. Wind can do it as well. When we have dust storms and things like that. Ice, glaciers are a powerful source of erosion. They move material around as the ice moves. And we're going to talk a lot about glaciers in this unit. And then gravity. So this is an example of a landslide, obviously transporting particles of rock. So essentially, to review, weathering is the breaking down of rocks, and erosion is the moving of rocks. So weathering is change, and erosion is movement. Awesome. Make sure you write it all down, and then you have an assignment to do. The pages are out of the textbook or on the website, and you just fill in the boxes on the worksheet and submit it to me. Have a good time. Bye.